So in the case of the Sustainable Development Goals, and Sustainable Development is a broader global project, we do have a consensus vision for the world. We know where we want to go. However, to know whether we're on the right path to get us there, and to know whether we're making progress along that path or those paths, we need measurement, we need data. And that brings me to 5 key questions that I'd like to pause and reflect on. I'm actually only going to pause and reflect on 3 of these 5, but I put the 5 out there for us to discuss and debate this morning. The first is, do we have sufficient data, and are we measuring the right things? Second, are we collecting those data accurately and reliably, and in a timely and affordable fashion? Are data openly available and usable? Are analyses sufficient and appropriate? And are the findings being used? So I'm going to tackle sort of the first 3 questions, which is the sufficiency of data, the quality of data, and the open availability of data. In April of this year, several leading Indian academics, Abhijit Banerjee, Pranav Bardhan, Rohini Somanathan, and T.N. Srinivasan, published a provocative editorial in the Economic Times with an intent to remind us of a glorious, not too distant past, and to turn our attention to an embarrassing present. It's very relevant to our conversation today. They observed that from being the world leader in surveys, we are now one of the countries with a serious data problem. And indeed, our problem is multifaceted. We lack access to large-scale representative data on a range of important issues, highly pertinent to the SDGs, starting with the issue of poverty, measuring and understanding poverty, as well as gender equality. With regards to the SDGs, in fact, India apparently has the capacity to only measure 23 out of 230 SDG indicators. Basic data on births and deaths are lacking. The civil registration and statistics for states such as Bihar and UP, among the most populous in the country, remain exceedingly poor. Not only do we lack data on SDG indicators, we also lack data that will provide us with the detailed, nuanced insights that we need to craft effective programs that will get us to our SDGs. The second question I'd like for us to reflect on is the accuracy, reliability, timeliness, and affordability of data, which have to do with both measurement as well as data collection challenges. Pranav Bardhan has highlighted the issue of non-response bias, for example, in estimating poverty via surveys on consumption expenditure. He points out that in the 61st round of the NSS, there was extremely high non-response rate. Over 40% of sampled households in Bihar, Jharkhand, and Uttarakhand were incapable, too busy, or reluctant to answer consumption expenditure related questions. Non-response bias, interestingly, was higher among upper caste households, leading to skewed insights on what is happening at the household level. Data on inequalities of opportunity are equally difficult to gather accurately. And in fact, we need more in-depth research to better understand what are the factors that underlie these challenges, and then to develop measurement and data collection approaches that will help us overcome them. Some large-scale surveys in India are switching to using handheld technologies for data collection. I know Sambodhi does in their extensive data collection efforts in states such as UP, but that conversion has not occurred across the board. Moreover, several researchers have pointed to the decline in investments in field investigators, as well as investments in attention to detail, how we train, supervise, and monitor field data collection. As a result of the erosion in the quality of our data collection efforts, we end up with wildly differing estimates of key outcome indicators. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of investments in technologies for data collection, measurement, and data collection, but even more so, the investments we make in the humans that wield those technologies. Use of tablets or other electronic devices can provide immediate returns in terms of survey quality control by providing insights such as timestamps and geocoordinates, but Ultimately, the success of those technological improvements are going to depend on the ability of the individuals who are using them. As I mentioned briefly, the Open Government Data Initiative is a promising step towards making large-scale data sets available. There are other platforms, global platforms such as Harvard Dataverse, which a number of BMGF partners, including Symbodhi, are using to make their data available in the public domain. However, there are some very important challenges to be addressed here. Data sets are not consistently available. For example, there may be fees associated with them, which then discourage certain kinds of users and uses. Data aren't always available in a digital format, so even if they're available, they're not in fact usable or readily usable. Studies in India have also suggested that government statistical resources, and I'm looking forward to hearing the comments of Dr. Krishna Kumar and Dr. Anand on this subject, that there perhaps needs to be quite a quantum leap in the investments that are made within government agencies in order to ensure that there's high quality government data and in order to ensure that they're available in a usable format. So for example, there are multiplicity of systems and formats. There's also a dearth of metadata without which you can't actually link, compare, and use different sources of data. Finally, an interesting challenge, I think, is our ability to anonymize digital data and yet have sufficient disaggregation in order to be making more granular sort of interpretations of what's needed. So responses to these challenges return us to the idea of the importance of investments in infrastructure, in capacities, and motivation, and collaboration of a range of actors, including government agencies and researchers. In the near term, I think ensuring the availability, for example, of comprehensive metadata will be key to the usability of data that are already in the public domain, and will also enable us to understand what kinds of measurement and data collection improvements are needed in the future. There is a need for new platforms and collaborative arrangements to make data available and usable. Usability can be enhanced, for example, by crowdsourcing. Similarly, digital platforms can enable interactions between those who collect data and those who use data, which then potentially can lead to increased motivation to engage in research and data collection. In summary, I think it is this combination of technology investments with investments in people, networks, and collaborations that are needed to solve the challenges we face in measurement and data in support of the efforts to attain the SDGs. We have much to celebrate because we do know where we want to go, and we have many resources at hand to help us get onto the right path towards our destination. The key is for us to pause, reflect, take stock, and then take collective action. Thank you.